We'll be back, ladies and gentlemen.
So that run that I was saying if we could go 6-6 on, we actually did better than I thought we would. Like, a lot better. Anyway, what is up, YouTube? I'm your friendly neighborhood N-Man64, and I'm bringing you MLB Power Pros Season Mode. In the last episode, we had a bit of an emergency episode where we recorded a game of us playing the Minnesota Twins. I believe it was this game. Matchup info. Yeah, 25-3. Yeah, we absolutely teed off on the Twins here. And that ended up resulting in us bouncing back for our season. So now we sit in first place at 24-13. And we didn't win every game, but we went pretty much 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 9. We brought 9-3 in those 12 games. That'll bring us up to Yankee Stadium for today's game, which is interesting, all things considered. We did make a couple more trades and moves since then. I re-signed the Lou guy that apparently I had released. I don't remember why. I brought in 2 more of our own players. Myself, who is much better. Oh, is much better than I ever actually was. I mean, I was a good power hitter and I had a good arm, but that's about it. And my friend Joe. Neither of whom is going to really make much of an impact this year, but I don't know. But then the Nationals offered me a pretty strange trade. They offered me Brian Schneider and Ryan Church, and in exchange, I gave them Garrett, Sandhouse, and Sal Fasano. I needed to upgrade from Fasano anyway, so I didn't care. Now, I don't think that they're going to be that big of an impact. Ryan Church is mostly at least in this game at least, is mostly going to be a bench player. Schneider's going to be our starting catcher, which is important, and that's why he's going to be worrying about making sure his fatigue doesn't go too high. Speaking of which, I forgot to mention this. This is the fatigue bar. Whenever you players play throughout the year, they will eventually get this on their... This bar will eventually continue to slowly fill up. The higher the fatigue rate, the more likely you are to be injured. The only way to get away from fatigue is by practicing fitness. It'll eventually lower. You can buy items in a store to make it increase. So, for example, if you head to the shop here, you can buy items that will improve the ability of your practice. If you want all of the practice to be made better, you're going to have to buy a lot, and it costs your owner points. So, honestly, for me, you're probably better off not buying these unless you really want your players to not have too much fatigue on them. It's just something I wanted to point out to you guys. But more importantly, it's time for us to do the game. Our game against the Yankees. So Scott Kazmier's on the mound. He's been pitching okay. A lot better than Jack. Jack's been getting clocked. JD's been pitching well. Jamie Wright is almost untouchable. And Ian Snell's been pretty good. So, all things considered, things are going in the right direction for us ever since we started making these big trades. So hopefully that improves. We do need a little bit more thump in this lineup, but we've got time. We can see where things are going with us. But first things first, we've got a game against the Yankees to play. At the end of this game, I'm going to show you the standings, because the standings are actually pretty interesting. I'm not going to go like in depth and be like, oh, these things are happening, but I'm just going to say
between the New York Yankees and Las Vegas, live from Yankee Stadium.
They're very interesting. We might actually have to win the division, because there is a log jam of wild card teams.
Here's the starting lineup for the Yankees.
Of course, that's usually how it happens, but still.
Playing shortstop, Jeter.
All right, Derek Jeter, of course, being a great player as usual.
Playing center field, Damon.
Johnny Damon, also having a very decent season. For some strange reason in this game, they don't have that many big power hitters. Like, a lot of guys will have high batting average,
Starting
but
for the
low
Yankees
power
is
number. Like, they
Pettit.
won't hit more than like 20 home runs. All right, Andy Pettit. Could have been a Hall of Famer if it wasn't for the HGH.
Number 45.
All right.
Second baseman.
The Yankees are one
Here
of
we
the
go
best
for the
teams
first
in this
pitch.
game, so
He hits the
if-
first pitch.
if you want to win, you're going to have to clobber them.
The go-ahead
Or at
runner
the
is
very
on with no
least,
outs. Enox has been in top form as a batter this
just
season.
keep them on their
Catcher throws
toes.
to second. He's in there before the tag. Safe at second. That's a stolen base. He got it. Now batting is rookie player Aguilar. He's set to deliver the first pitch. It's a strike.
Aguilar, I think I'm going to have to move out of the 2 slot because he is not
Driven to
hitting
right
for
center
much
field.
power.
He got it. Runner on second tags and goes to third.
Test Johnny Damon's arm,
Mike
but I
Piazza
don't
has
really want
been in
to
top
right
form as a
now.
batter this season.
Mike
Here we
Piazza's
go
been a
for the
house
first
on
pitch. Hit
fire
the
since
first
we
pitch.
acquired him.
It's going.
And that's gone.
There it goes, a home run.
Apparently,
And there's the
Roger
first
Clemens
run.
isn't the only Yankee pitcher that Mike Piazza owns.
And he touches home plate after circling the bases.
All right, 2
Russell
zip.
Branyan has been in top form as a batter this season. Here we go for the first pitch. He hit the first pitch once again.
3 zip.
Another home run in our hands. That
Oh,
one is
wow,
off
that
the wall.
just, I thought that
The
was
batter
gone.
advances to second.
I thought that was gone.
He's in there before the
Okay.
tag. Safe at second. Las Vegas.
All right, Mr.
Two
Pettit, you're
consecutive
going to have to get a big
Whiteman
out
has been
here.
in top form as a batter this season.
I
Riding a
don't
five-game
plan on
hitting streak
letting
is
you,
now at the
though.
plate. The ball is hit
If
the
you want an
outfield for a
out,
base
Mr.
hit.
Pettit,
To
you're
right
going to
field.
have to
Las
up.
Vegas get another
I thought he was
run.
gonna throw
The
home.
shortstop
Shit,
throws across
shit,
to first. Pettit tags
Caught
the
in a
runner
rundown.
out. There's the third out. 3 runs, 4 hits, no errors. One
That
run
is a
left
good
on base.
song. For baseball fans out there, it's a good song.
The Yankees.
All right, I acquired Scott Kazmir from
Has been in
Tampa.
top form as a batter this
He's
season.
a lefty
That's a
starter
strike.
with
Count 0-1.
decent stats, but the reason I got him is specifically
Foul
because he's a
ball.
lefty. We needed a lefty in our rotation.
Swings and misses. He's gone. Damon.
But Kazmir can draw a lot of strikeouts.
Derek
He's a
Jeter
pretty
has been
decent
in top
guy.
form as a batter this
And actually
season.
is one of the most
Riding an 18
interesting
hitting streak
baseball
is now at the plate.
careers
He hit it too
after
high.
this season. Because
Kazmir
Scott Kazmir
retires the
really
hitter on a
became the
pop-up
ace
second.
of Tampa
Next
Bay in
at bat,
2007.
Bobby Abreu. Strike.
And then later bounced back for,
That's a strike.
and later kept going after that when they went from
Off the
being
head
the
of the
Devil
bat.
Rays to being the Rays.
There's the third out.
Then out of nowhere,
No
for like a
runs,
3
no
or
hits,
4 year
no
stretch,
errors.
he just could not
At the end of the
pitch.
first inning, the Yankees
And
0,
then
Las
he
Vegas 3.
became a very good workhorse. So he went from being like an ace to a guy who can't pitch to being a workhorse.
Here we go with the
Which,
first pitch.
honestly,
He hits the first
is
pitch.
the trajectory
It's
that
going,
most
going.
starting pitchers should want to follow.
There it goes, a home
Wow,
run.
you gave up a home run to
4-0.
Andrew?
Las
He's only
Vegas
hit 3
extend
home
their
runs
lead
on the
to
year,
4.
dude. Come
And
on,
he
Andy.
touches home plate after circling the bases.
Get your shit together.
Next at bat, Brian Schneider.
Yeah, Brian
He's
Schneider's
set to
offensive
deliver the
numbers
first
don't
pitch.
jump out,
He belts
but he's
one
a
off the
better
first pitch.
defender than
a
Fasano
hit.
was, and he's also not as likely to get hurt. And that's
Schneider
the-
gets a base hit. We have a runner on with no outs. Next
All
up,
right.
West, riding a 4-game hitting streak, is now at the plate.
There we
How
go.
about first?
I was about to say, I'm like, there's no way you're going to let me
2
blow this
away.
game wide open, right? Now, is Kazmir going to be as good as Wright and JD? Probably
He's set
not.
to deliver the first pitch.
But I do
First pitch,
hope that
and
he's
it's
going to
pulled
be at
towards the
least
line.
somewhat
He steps on the
decent.
first base bag. Out. That's the final out. 1 run,
At
2
least
hits,
somewhat
no errors.
decent.
We enter the
That's
bottom of the second
that's
inning.
kind of
Las
the
Vegas
important.
4, the Yankees 0.
All right, so A-Rod,
The
Giambi, and
Yankees, the number
Matsui.
4, 5, and 6 batters are up this inning.
But the one thing that
Here we
always
go, the
strikes
first
me
pitch.
about Kazmir, and not just in this game, but in his career in general, is Scott Kazmir.
Off the head of the bat. Throwing to first.
If you guys know me, you know I'm a big New York
One
Met
away.
fan.
Rodriguez
yes,
is retired on an
Scott
infield
Kazmir
ground. Next up,
is
Jason Giambi. Here we go for the
it
first
was
pitch.
a Mets draft pick, and
Strike.
many believe that he was going to be part of like the Mets' own little like
He's
core
behind in the
group that
count.
they could use to build a dynasty off of.
Great catch. How about
Yeah,
first?
nope, sorry, infield hit.
That's
But
it
so it's
for
going to be like
infield
Scott
base hit.
Kazmir,
We have a runner
David
on with
Wright,
1 out.
Jose
Next
Reyes,
up,
stuff
Hideki
like that,
Matsui down the first
which
base
the
line.
Mets
Fair
could
ball.
build
He steps on the first base bag.
similarly to how the Yankees
Beats
built
the
around
tag, so they
Jeter,
have to settle for
Jorge
1 out.
Posada,
Next batter,
Andy Pettit,
Jorge
and Mariano
Posada.
Rivera.
High fly into center field.
And, yeah, the Yankees are
There's
coming
a
around
hit.
pounding.
He throws to second.
They're going to be a lot tougher of a team to beat than Minnesota
The Yankees
was, that's
pick
for
up a
sure.
run. The batter stops at second base. Our next batter, Robinson Cano, riding a three-game hitting streak.
Keep the
is now at
game
plate.
like this.
That's the final out.
Scott Kazmir was supposed to be a big piece in that, but because the Mets were run pretty much like a boys club at that point,
The number 2, 3, and 4 batters are
they ran things like everyone who's like done their duties by the organization and stuff was getting more respect than the upcoming kids. So
gets a base hit to center field.
when Scott Kazmir wanted to bring some life into the clubhouse during spring training, everyone was like all the older guys like Al Leiter and
Mike Piazza hit a 2-run home run in his last at-bat.
John Franco were like, oh my God, this is sacrilege. We don't want this in our locker room, and they started making issues, so the Mets ended up trading him for basically a bag of magic beans called Victor Zambrano. And Scott Kazmir would end up being a big piece for Tampa Bay, then later the Angels and a few other teams.
Thrown to first. That's the final out.
And it always annoyed me that it's another young player that the Mets just did not want to do anything, have anything to do with. All to appease a few guys who wouldn't even be on the roster a few months after they traded him. No, yeah, because John Franco and Al Leiter were both cut from the Mets after that year.
Minkiewicz is retired on an infield
And they decided to go
Johnny
all in
Gator
on a
has been
different
in
type
top form
of
as a
youth
batter this
movement
season.
and bringing in some other different types of people to change the trajectory of the team, which ended up bringing in guys like Pedro Martinez and Carlos Beltran. That made the Mets the team that they are in this particular game, in these particular games, in the MLB Power Pros games. Before that all fell apart, but yeah, we're not going to talk about
that one. There's the third out.
And man could go for hours upon hours talking about how the Mets have ruined his life, but you know what? I just don't really feel like it. We're playing as the Las Vegas Dragons,
Here we go, the first
and
pitch.
we're trying to play the other team, those Yankees,
up the middle between second and shortstop.
who
Hit to center
actually
field.
also at this point in their franchise
Whiteman
were in a
gets base hit
very
to center
weird
field.
place
Whiteman hits back-to-back base hits.
because
He belts one off
the last championship the Yankees had won to this point, because they would win in 2009, was in 2000.
Ryan Schneider got a single in his last at-bat.
They lost in
Here we go,
91.
the first pitch. He hit the
They
first
lost in
pitch once
2001 to the Diamondbacks in that really good series after 9/11.
Next up, West.
Then 2002 they got like obliterated by the Angels.
Thrown to first. There's the third
Then
out.
2003 they lost to the Marlins in the World Series.
One man left on base.
2004 they lost to the Red Sox after completely collapsing after a 3-game lead in the ALCS.
Out. One away.
Then
Abreu grounds to second and is
2005
Next up,
they
Alex
lost in
Rodriguez.
the division
Here
round
we go,
again
the
to the
first pitch.
Angels.
He takes a big cut.
And then 2006 they got absolutely embarrassed by the Tigers.
He's behind in the
So
count.
it was like the Yankees were in a very weird place because they barely had any connection to those teams that had won 10 years before. Like the only players they had left were like Jeter, Posada.
No runs.
Heck, even Andy Pettitte left after for a little bit to go to Houston.
The Yankees won. Las Vegas 4.
So did Roger Clemens and stuff like that. But like the Yankees were trying to both win and like keep those feelings of, oh, we're the indomitable New York Yankees going. So that's why instead of like embracing some younger players, they kept signing and trading for veterans and stuff. And it ended up not doing them justice in 2007 because while they did have a good team, the Red Sox were far and away the best team in baseball. Well, the best team in the American League that year. I mean, you could give the argument that Cleveland was really good too.
No hits, no errors. We enter the bottom of the fifth
Yeah, there was
inning.
no
Las Vegas
dice
4.
for the Yankees in 07. And then 08, everything blew up in their faces because
are down
Tampa
by
was
3
young
runs.
and exploded on the scene. The Red Sox were still really good. And by that point, the Yankees were just old.
Pop fly to the catcher.
And they ended up letting a lot of their old guys go in the offseason. And that's when they went and bought that, pretty much bought the championship in 2009. getting guys that, yes, are in this game. A.J. Burnett, CeCe Sabathia, and Mark Teixeira. And, wow, Posada, that is gone.
There it goes.
Wow, Jorge Posada is Scott Kazmier's kryptonite, ain't he? Well, like I said, Scott Kazmier, I just need him to give me innings. Because we have starters who are not giving us innings. Oh, 200th career home run.
The fans are giving him a
I don't think he hit his 200th career home run on Scott Kazmier, but if he did, that would be very interesting.
Is now at the plate. Out. 2 away. Next at bat.
Maybe future me can install that as a sort of factoid, but
thrown to first.
I don't know. Me and him aren't on the best of terms.
1 run, 1 hit, no errors.
You guys are all well
At the end of the 5th innings, the Yankees 2, Las Vegas 4. The 6th inning is coming up next.
Mike Piazza.
Here we go, the first pitch. Hit the first pitch.
For those of you asking, who might ask,
It's a hit.
like,
He
why
comes
Mike
off the wall.
Piazza is my
He
all-time
throws to
favorite
second.
baseball player, it's when you get involved in something,
The batter stops at
it's
second
like
base.
what your
Yes,
favorite
up,
movie
gets a
was as a
base hit.
kid,
He's
or what your
third of the
favorite
day.
video game is of all time. When you get involved in something, there has to be, like, a person or a thing or whatever that gets you enveloped in that. And when I was a kid, I knew 3 names in
Russell
baseball.
Branyan has been in top form as a
3
batter this
names,
season.
just
Las
3
Vegas could
as a
stretch
kid.
their lead here.
So, like,
He
I
goes
didn't know,
well
I
off the
couldn't
first
tell you
pitch.
most
Line
of
drive
the
up the middle
rosters
between
in
second and
baseball when I
shortstop.
was
Hit to
a
center
little kid
field.
starting baseball. But the
Branyan
3
gets
names
a
I
base
knew
hit to center field.
were Mike
Las Vegas
Piazza,
get 2 consecutive
Babe
hits.
Ruth,
Las Vegas could stretch their lead here.
and Hank Aaron.
Foul ball.
Those were the 3 names that I knew. Hank Aaron had long since
Off
stopped
the
playing
pitcher.
the game.
Send it home. Las
And,
Vegas extend
wow,
their
an
lead
error
to
by
3.
Posada. Wow,
This
200th
latest
career
rule is
home
an
run,
error.
and he committed an error.
He's set to deliver the
Brilliant
first pitch.
job, Jorge.
Solid hit to shallow left.
And I think
He throws
A-Rod
to
just
third.
tripped over himself. I think this is going to be the game inning we blow the game wide open.
Ryan Schneider has
Let's
a chance
see.
to increase their lead.
Yep.
Drops in for a base hit. Relay to second.
Sorry, Yankees,
That's the
you had
third
your
run this
chance.
inning for Las Vegas. Schneider hits it over the center fielder's head for an
But to be
RBI
fair,
double.
Pettit lasted a
Schneider
lot
gets
longer
his
than their
second
other
RBI of
starter
the
did.
game. Next up,
Scott
West,
Baker for
riding
the
a
Twins
4-game
did.
hitting streak is now at the plate.
All right,
The
Vizcaíno
Yankees are
coming
putting
in.
in a new pitcher. Vizcaíno is the second pitcher for the team
But,
to
like,
take the mound
I
in this
knew
game.
3 names
Here we go,
growing
the
up.
first pitch. Off
Babe
the head of
Ruth,
the
who,
bat.
of course,
Right
everybody.
through the
Oh,
wickets.
my God. Oh, my God.
Third base runner comes home.
Oh,
Las
A-Rod
Vegas
and
got
Posada
another run.
both can't play defense, apparently.
Here we go. For
But
the
no,
first
the 3
pitch.
names I
There's the
knew
first pitch,
were
and it struck to the opposite field. Posada
Babe
tags
Ruth,
the runner out.
Hank Aaron, Mike Piazza.
Enox has had a base
Babe
hit
Ruth, of
already
course,
in
being
this
the
game.
most iconic
Here we go, the first
athlete,
pitch.
well, arguably the
And
most
the first
iconic
pitch once
athlete
again.
in American sports
There's
of
a hit.
all time.
There's a
And,
shot
you know
up
what,
the
Matsui,
alley
I will
left
give
side.
you
Las
credit.
Vegas
You
extend
dove
their
for
lead
that,
to
but you
7.
missed it.
Enox hits it over the center fielder's head for an RBI double. Las Vegas go right through the batting order. There's no stopping them. Next at bat, Aguilar. It's a hit.
You know, I'll be sympathetic. I want you guys to.
Hits one
In reality,
deep
I
in the
want
alley
Piazza
left
to hit a grand
center,
slam.
and it's
That
in
would've
there
been
for a
funny if he
base
did.
hit. Mike Piazza is a solid 3
Oh,
for
darn
3
it,
in this
double
game.
play.
A triple is needed to hit for the cycle.
He's
out, double play.
You know, Mike
5
Piazza
runs, 6
was
hits, 1 error, 3
that
men
guy
left on
to me.
base.
So,
We have
like,
the bottom of the
I knew
6th
Mike
inning.
Piazza.
Las
He
Vegas
was
9,
the
the
best.
Yankees 2.
Well, I wouldn't say he was the best catcher in baseball,
They are
but he
leading
was
off in this
probably
inning
the most
from top of their
iconic
batting lineup. The
catcher in
Yankees.
baseball.
Johnny
at the
Damon
time.
has been in top form as a batter this season.
Because he may not have had a great arm, he wasn't the best
There's a pop-up
defender,
to the
but
second
he
baseman.
could hit the cover off the ball.
He got it. 1 away.
Like, I know a lot of people will say,
Kazmir
like, the
retires the
ball
hitter.
sounds
Up at the
different
second.
when
Derek
he's
Jeter
hitting,
has been in
but
top
with
form
Mike
as a batter
Piazza,
this
that was
season.
literally
Riding an
the
8-game
case.
hitting streak is now at the plate.
Like, I have been to dozens of baseball games
He's
in my
behind in the
lifetime,
count.
whether it be the independent league,
He
whether
drives
it
it to
be
the opposite
Met
field.
games, Yankee
2 away.
games. I've been to a lot of baseball
Kazmir
games.
retires the batter with a line
And
of second. Next up, Javi Abreu. Here we go.
when
the
I
first
tell you
pitch.
the
That's a
ball
strike.
going off Mike Piazza's bat sounded
Broken bat.
completely different than
That's
any
the
other
final out.
player,
No runs.
that
no
is
hits,
the
no
thing.
errors.
Like,
The
when it
Yankees
comes to
2,
sports
Las
in
Vegas
general,
9.
you always have that one guy that made you fall in love with the sport.
And
So
the
like some
game
people
heads into
for
the 7th inning.
hockey, they
Russell
would
Branyan
say it
has had a
was
double already
Wayne
in this
Gretzky, it
First pitch is
was, uh,
struck for a hit.
Steve
He's in position.
Yzerman, Bobby
He got it.
Orr.
1 away.
Even right now, nowadays, it could be
Whiteman.
Connor
Here we go for the
McDavid,
first pitch. He hit the first pitch
Leon
once again.
Draisaitl, any of those
Ball is
guys.
hit
In
the outfield
football,
for a
you
base
could have
hit.
been motivated by Tom Brady.
Whiteman gets a base hit to
Brett
center
Favre,
field.
Aaron
Whiteman gets a
Rodgers.
base hit. His third of the
Basketball
day.
could be
He's set to
LeBron
deliver the first
James,
pitch. He settles
Dwayne
under it.
Wade, Russell Westbrook, and a sort of bunch of other players.
Number 23.
But like that's usually what gets you. Like
Here
what
we go for
hooks
the
you
first
in
pitch.
as a
He pulled
fan
that first
of a
pitch.
specific team.
Drops in for a base hit.
Oh wow.
Runner on first, round second, goes
There,
for
the
third.
Yankees are just not fielding well today.
Schneider has back-to-back doubles. Schneider gets a base hit. His third of the
Oh,
day.
darn it.
Our next
Oh
batter,
my God.
West, riding a
I
four-game
thought that was going to be the third error.
No runs,
Oh
two
my
hits,
God, the
no errors,
Yankees.
two men left on
They
base.
are just not having a good day today.
We are now facing the number 4,
All right,
5, and 6 batters.
Rodriguez.
But no, Mike
Here we go,
Piazza
the
was
first
what
pitch.
drew me to being a baseball
It's a
fan.
strike.
And then eventually I began to learn more players.
Oh boy, that one's
I
going
began
deep.
to
This ball
learn.
is crushed
I knew
and
about
it
the
is
Yankees.
flying.
I
It's a
knew about
homer.
Jeter.
See ya.
I knew about. Why is A-Rod so angry? That's the steroids.
And he touches home plate after circling the bases. Next at bat, Jason Tiambi. Here we go, the first pitch.
Like everybody has that one player,
Count 0-1.
and then eventually I began to learn about other players in the league that I
Swing and miss
could really
again.
get behind.
He's behind in the count.
So I learned about guys like Derek Jeter,
One away.
Albert Pujols, Barry Bonds,
Casimir retires the batter with a
and
line
so
out
many
short.
other guys that I'm
Next at bat,
sure
Hideki
all the
Matsui.
youngins
Here we
in
go,
the
the
audience
first
are like,
pitch.
I ain't never heard of him.
Casimir caught that one.
Did
Two
he
away.
play for those ancient Montreal
pitch.
Expos?
There's the first pitch, and it's hit. It's a wicked shot straight into the stands. Foul ball. Flying
But
to
like
shallow
those
center
are the
field.
players that I began to learn more about, and then eventually I was able
There's the
to
third out.
start to
One
learn
run, one
to
hit,
love
no errors.
players beyond
At
Piazza
the end of the
because
seventh inning, the Yankees
when I
3,
was
Las Vegas
10
9.
or 11 years old, I gotta think,
Number
2005, so I would have been 10. Right, it would have been right before
Here we
my
go for
11th
the first
birthday.
pitch. He hits the first pitch.
The Mets let
They're
Mike
throwing to
Piazza
first.
go, and
Out.
that was
One
like.
away.
It was the end of his contract. They didn't fire him, but it was just like
Here
one
we
of
go for
those.
the first pitch. He connects with the first
Like
pitch.
what am I
between
supposed to
second base
root
and
for
shortstop.
now?
Hit to
So
center
do I
field.
root for the team or do I root for the guy?
Enoch
Because Mike
gets a
Piazza
base hit
would
to
play a
center
few
field.
more years.
Enoch
He would go to
gets
San
back-to-back
Diego
base hits.
like he
Aguilar
did
got a
in
single his last
2006,
at-bat.
and then we
Throw
got
to
him from
second.
Oakland, who he played for in 2007. Well, we got him in Oakland for the
A
game.
triple is needed to hit for the cycle.
Mike Piazza.
Here we go
And
for the first pitch. First pitch
I
is
just,
dropped
because I
for a
wasn't
hit.
really
They're going to first.
super into
There's the
baseball,
third
like
out. No
violently
runs, one hit, no errors.
absorbed
One man
into
left on base.
baseball at
Las
that point. I
Vegas,
still
9,
loved
the
it, but I
Yankees,
wasn't like
3.
as engrossed in it as I would later be.
The Yankees are now up to bat. Riding a
boy.
3-game hitting
Don't play.
streak is now at the plate. First pitch is struck for a hit.
I decided
There's a pop-up
I would
landing
just
in the
follow the
stands
brand,
in
and
foul
the Mets
territory.
rewarded me with quite possibly the best season they will ever have for me in 2006,
One away.
where they
Cano
ran
is
away with the
retired on an
division
infield ground.
and then came
Next
within
at bat,
one base
Dustin
hit of the
Davis.
World
That's a
Series.
strike.
And yes, the Mets have been to the World Series in my lifetime, but that team was the most heavily flawed World Series team I've ever seen.
Minkiewicz gets a base
Again,
hit
that's
to right
discussion
field.
for another
Johnny
day.
Damon has been in top form as a batter this
But that
season.
2006 Mets team, which is pretty much the
Fly ball
Mets
down the left
teams
foul line.
as they stand right now, as they stand in this
He
game.
jumps for it. Let's see if the
Yeah,
Reds
no,
can get
Rob,
back.
no home runs for you, Mr. Damon. Sorry.
Derek Jeter
So
has been
7
in top
2/3
form as a batter
innings.
this
I think
season.
that's enough
Riding an
from you,
8-game
Scotty
hitting streak is
boy.
now at the plate.
Let's go. Who do I want to throw in, actually? Let's get a bullpen guy in here. How about... I bring in Hodge. The Hodgepodge.
Timeout. Las Vegas are putting in a new pitcher. Hodge is the
What is
second
up with
pitcher
these
for the
weird
team to
numbers
take
they
the
give
mound in
these
this game.
players? We don't have any
Here we go.
retired
the first
numbers.
pitch.
In
Hit
fact,
the
I don't
first
even think you
pitch.
can retire
Line drives
numbers.
one right
in
between
Power
shortstop and
Pros.
third. Hit to left field.
If you could, then my God, I
Jeter
would
gets
just
a
retire.
base hit to
Like,
left field. Now our next batter, Bobby.
and again, it's pretty difficult to would be
Top
pretty
line of the
difficult to
catcher.
retire numbers in this game.
He got it. There's the third out.
Whatevs.
No runs, 2 hits, no errors, 2 men left on base. At the end of the 8th inning, the Yankees 3, Las Vegas 9.
It's just weird that they just like
And now
AI
we are here
generate
in the
a bunch of
ninth inning.
numbers for guys.
Branyan.
Here we go, the first pitch. It's a strike. going down into shallow center
Right center field. Base hit for Russell's got muscle.
Branyan gets a base hit.
And this will be the first of, I think, 3 or 4 games that we're going to show for the month of May. So we're going to go to Yankee Stadium. I think we're going to play the White Sox in U.S. Cellular, so I'll pick a game from that series to play. And then we're going to play our division rivals in the Angels.
Dribbler off the bat.
We're actually one of the teams I'm debating using for the... They're one of the teams I'm debating to use in 2008.
He hits the first pitch.
As the season mode, because I'm not doing the expansion mode in that, because...
That was an easy catch.
As you see, with the expansion team they gave us in this game was okay. Like, you have a couple of decent guys. In 08, they give you, like, table scraps. The computer-generated players in MLB Power Pros 2008 are abysmal.
The Yankees, 3.
You can see it for yourself. In fact, I might just set up a thing just to show you guys just how dreadful some of these players are.
He's set to deliver the first pitch. He makes a diving catch.
Nice job, Whiteman.
One away. Jason Tiambi has had a base hit already in this game.
But no, they are abysmal, so I'm not doing that. I'm debating if I'm going to do the full season with a regular team, or if I'm going, oh, wow.
He jumps for it.
Oh, that's 2 robbed home runs, motherfucker.
Next at bat, Hideki Matsui.
Actually, you know what? No. I want to see a replay of that. I want to see a replay of that. Look at this shit. Look at this shit.
Pitch hitting.
Look at this shit.
Away from winning consecutive games.
You ain't running from me, bitch. Aha! No home run for you, Mr. Giambi.
Here we go for the first pitch. There's the first pitch, and it's hit.
Well, I'll let you get a hit. I like Melky Cabrera. He can get a hit.
Las Vegas.
And again, he's also a PED guy. I don't think was he using with the Yankees? I don't know. I know he used later in his career.
He pulled that one well. Out, and that's the ball game.
A lot of players.
Las Vegas, that's 3 wins in a row.
All right, so that's 3 wins in a row for us. If you count games I've shown, that's every win so far. So we'll just have to wait and see if we can hold that. A moonshot from Piazza. I'm pretty sure that's going to make him the player of the game then. I'm actually curious. Let's see. Nope, Scott Kazmir was the winning pitcher. The player of the game. Which is weird because he got pretty beat up in this game. Posada, and A-Rod. Posada and A-Rod both took him deep. But you know what? I don't think Scott minds. He had a very good game. He just can't throw changeups. We got to make him a slider guy. Now, judging from the standings, I believe our 2 biggest competitors are Seattle and the Angels. So we're probably gonna want to. Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm trying to make a trade. I'm trying to acquire Brandon League. The reason being, he throws really hard, and our bullpen really needs someone who can throw hard. But first, let's take a look at the standings. Yeah, look at this. The Sea Dogs are terrible, but then Oakland is bad, but not too bad. A good winning streak could have them back in the running. The Rangers are about 500. Seattle's good, the Angels are good, and we're good. In the Central, it's Cleveland and Minnesota. The White Sox are okay. The Tigers are playing poorly, and the Royals are playing better than they usually would at this point. And in the AL East, it's all Yankees right now, but for some reason, Baltimore's doing really good, and the Blue Jays are awful. Very weird. Mark would not like that. In the National League, you have the Giants in first, but the Giants and Diamondbacks tied for first, which is interesting. The Dodgers right behind them, the Rockies right behind them. Why the Padres are in dead last, I don't know. The Reds currently lead the NL Central, and Cincinnati, Chicago, and St. Louis are right behind them. Brewers, Pirates, and Astros are pretty much right where I expected them to be. And NL East right now is all Mets because they are the best team in this game, and I will probably fight you over that. The best well-constructed roster in the game. Alright, I think that'll do for this episode. Next up, we're going to be going to U.S. Cellular Field for a showdown with the Chicago White Sox. I would play a home game against them, but we've got a couple of home games coming up next week. In a couple of episodes, we're going to be doing a home game against the Marlins, a home game against Kansas City. We got a lot of weird games coming up. But the next few games we have are in U.S. Cellular Field in Chicago, Anaheim, Seattle, a home game against the Marlins, a home game against Kansas City, a road game in San Francisco, a road game in... Have we played Texas? Have we shown a game against Texas this year? I don't think we have. Well, we'll do. Do we have Texas in September? Yeah, we'll do Texas in September, and then we'll do Cleveland, and then the All-Star game. So we got a bunch of games left to focus on. But next up is the White Sox. So we will take part in a game in Chicago next episode. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm your friendly neighborhood N-Man64, and I will see you guys on the south side of Chicago. Until we meet again, sayonara.